am Mel.
And I'm Janelle.
And this is the Murder Mamas.
The Murder Mama. Welcome. Here we are. Let's go.
Okay, let's just start. We're going to be talking about a couple different people. So I found the case of Lucie Blackman, who I originally was going to do. And then another murder came up. And then a rapist came up. So this story has a bunch of stuff.
What did Shrek say? It's like the onions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just a Russian nesting doll of the cases.
Yep, it's true. Yeah. All right. So Lucie.
Who are we talking about first?
Lucie Blackman. So we're going to talk about Lucie. We're going to talk about another girl. And then we're going to talk about
the rapist.
So we're going to kind of go back and forth.
Got it.
But you'll keep me on track.
Well, try my best.
Okay. So Lucie Blackman was born on September 1st, 1978 in Kent, England. She was the oldest of 3 children of Tim Blackman and Jane Steer, who divorced when Lucie was a teenager. Lucie attended Seven Oaks School, where she was popular and an outgoing student. She had an overwhelming interest in travel and foreign cultures, especially in Japan.
Okay.
She also enjoyed music, dancing, and fashion. After finishing school, Lucie worked as a flight attendant for British Airways for 2 years. So she and her friend Louise Phillips decided to travel to Japan and quit their jobs and have like a fun time in Japan for a year. Nice. And then go back to work.
I wish I could do that.
Well, she was in debt, like a huge amount of debt.
I wish I could do that even if I wasn't in debt.
Yeah. So that comes into play when she goes missing. Like, did she run away from her debts? Did something happen? I don't know.
Like, how were they planning to live?
Well, I'll get there. All right.
I just can't imagine. I'm sorry.
I know.
Can't imagine upping and leaving to a foreign country.
No.
With nothing. No plan. No job. No.
Like if they had kept their job at least with British Airways and moved to Japan and just worked out of that hub. But no, they just quit and moved to Japan. That was it.
That to me just seems wild.
Yeah.
It's the thing you do as a 22-year-old, right? She's 22 at the time, something like that, in the 90s.
20, yeah.
And how do That's a 22-year-old move. That's
for sure. But even I don't even think I could do that at 20. I don't think I would have done that to a new country with no money, no job.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would do that. But I could see.
Yeah, I mean, I could see people who do that. Great anxiety up the ass with that one.
My mental health would never let me.
Never. Okay, Lucie had to look for a job, and she heard about being a hostess and how much money that could be made, or she could make doing that. And since she was broke and in a lot of debt, she decided to go with this.
Okay.
And she worked at a bar called Casablanca. So very loosely descended from the geisha house tradition, hostess bars hire out women by the hour to act as companions for customers. Hostesses are not prostitutes. They are more like paid platonic girlfriends. They may choose to sleep with a client. They may not. Although there are no official numbers on how many work in a hostess bars, it's estimated that hundreds of thousands labor throughout Japan. It's in what is surely a multi-billion-dollar industry. So there's a shit ton of people working in that industry.
Wow.
It brings in a lot of money. Now, the way Lucie and her friend did not work at a job where it was required to have sex with the customer. It was actually frowned upon. So This one was strictly platonic. That's it. Okay. So most hostess clubs employed Japanese and other Asian women at the time, but beginning in the early 1980s, more and more began to stock Western women. Of all the hostesses in Japan, the highest paid tended to be pretty, English-speaking, Caucasian, and blonde, of which Lucie met every single requirement.
Okay.
The first few weeks of a novice hostess can be disoriented. They have really weird hours that you become purely nocturnal. You have to show up for work at 9, you finish around 2, and then the tradition is going out until dawn to party at other high-priced clubs. So that's a lot to take in if you're not used to that.
Exhausting.
It does sound exhausting. Like, I really think I could have done that. Like, that's fine when I was 21, but absolutely not. Like,
I need a nap.
Just start work at 9? What the fuck? No.
Just you saying that. I need a nap.
Right. So the girls earned between $150 and $400 a night in salary, in addition to gifts that customers may shower with them.
But does that sound like a lot?
It doesn't sound like a lot. $150 does not sound like a lot a week to me.
A night.
A night. Oh, it's a night. I thought it was a week. But even that's not that much. Because
I guess it depends on like how many hours, right? Like,
yeah.
what's the hourly rate of that?
That's true.
But also it's the 90s.
It's the 90s,
right?
But she's paying for room and board and food, and then they're going out every single night, and they're paying out of pocket for that. So
yeah,
it's a lot.
It definitely sounds like a lot.
Yeah. Lucie started watching like cars come in and out of the clubs, and she noticed that like all these nice Jaguars and Mercedes and all these were pulling up, and these hostesses were getting into the car and driving off. So she wasn't used to that. This club, usually you stay in the club and you party with the person at the club. You light their cigarettes, you drink with them, you tell them that they're handsome, that kind of thing. So she was like, oh, I wonder what these people are doing.
Okay.
So this curbside ritual was part of a hostess club custom called Dohan. So the men dropping them off were loyal customers of hostess clubs who paid additional fees to take the hostess to dinner and then deliver her back to work.
Okay.
It was required at the club that she like bring in more men, so it was kind of stressing her out about that because she was new. She's only been working here for like a month.
Okay.
And so they had to bring in new customers, and then they had to have customers that would call just for them, like repeat customers.
Okay.
That was the requirement of being a hostess.
Oh, okay.
So Lucie emailed her sister that working in the club was, quote, like being an air hostess without the altitude. She phoned her mother, which is kind of funny. I was like, I like that. She phoned her mother once to tell her that a customer had offered her, quote, a fantastic sum of money to sleep with him. But Lucie said she laughed off the proposal, reminding her mother that her job was to pour drinks, light cigarettes, and discuss boring subjects like volcanoes. I like volcanoes.
Volcanoes are interesting.
They are kind of interesting.
But
I could see, like, when you're 20.
kind of boring.
Yeah, I could see where that could get boring.
Well, like, also, I don't care.
Right? Like, yeah, exactly. Nope.
Just pay me.
Yeah.
Hi.
Smile and nod.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, volcano.
Yeah.
Super cool.
She confessed to Sophie, her sister, that sometimes her customers spoke English with such thick accents, all she could do was nod. Quote, I can't believe I'm paid so much money to just pretend I am listening to them, she reported, which is amazing. Okay, so on July 1st, a Saturday, Lucie went on a Dohan with a customer from Casablanca. The man, whose name Lucie did not share with anyone, had offered her a prepaid mobile phone if she would accompany him to a restaurant near the beach. This was enticing because in Japan, if you're not a natural citizen, you could not buy a cell phone at the time. But all of these women get cell phones from the men, so I don't know how they govern that or whatever.
Why?
I don't know.
What?
I didn't look into like why that was a rule, but
what is the reason?
I don't know.
No, I know. I'm just
and then they use them anyway because they get phones. She had a phone. How do you
enforce that?
Right, exactly.
Do you like see a random foreigner walking down the street looking at a cell phone? You're like, excuse me.
Absolutely not.
Like,
I'll take that.
Yeah, like, that's against the rules.
Yeah, I don't know. But she had one, her roommate had one, so, they had one.
Okay.
Her roommate Louise was still in bed when Lucie left. Louise recalls glimpsing Lucie on her way out in sandals and a black one-piece dress, a silver necklace with hearts on it, and they had plans to see each other in the evening along with Scott, Lucie's boyfriend. He was stationed in Japan, but he's from Britain or England or somewhere over there. So, just so you know.
Is that considered the West? No. That would be the East, right?
Is it? I don't know.
No, that's the West.
I don't know. I know California's on the West Coast and New York is on the East Coast, and that's all I've got.
But if you're in Japan...
Right. Oh.
That would be the West.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Yeah, because Japan's like...
It's by China.
Yeah.
But if you were doing like California, wouldn't that be to the east
yeah.
of Japan?
Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. But
interesting.
It is interesting.
Geography.
Who knew?
Who knew? Who knew maps? Globe. Shocking. Who knew?
Who knew? Right. Anyway, so Lucie phoned Louise 3 times the day that she went missing. First at 1:30 to say she had met her lunch date, then at 5 saying I'm being taken to the sea, and then finally at 7 when she said I'll be back in a half an hour. She phoned Scott, her boyfriend, a few minutes later with the same message, and no one heard from her again. So the next day, Phillips, her roommate, received a call.
That's very good communication on her
end.
Oh,
yeah. Like, she's for sure. They both do it. Like, the roommate said they both checked in constantly with each other, always knew where they were going, like, you know, where on the date, if they're going out of the club, they knew exactly where they were going to be. So she was very good at checking in. So when she doesn't show up,
there's an issue.
Yeah. So her roommate received a call on her cell phone from a man who spoke in a thick accent and identified himself as Akiri Takia. He told her, quote, Lucie has joined a newly risen cult. She is safe and she is training in a hut in Chibab.
Sure.
So that's weird because, like, why would a man call and tell, like, why wouldn't she just call and say, hey, I'm moving on?
Sounds legit.
Yeah. So freaked out, Louise called Lucie's parents to tell them the news.
The police?
No, she didn't go there. They were scared. They were not working legally in the country.
The boyfriend?
Yeah, I know.
Legally.
Well, she just decided to call the parents.
Not the move I would make.
Yeah. So Lucie's mother, Jane, had been preparing a care package for Lucie of cold medicine and her favorite pick and mix snacks from Woolworths when a call came in to the Blackman's house on July 3rd. Lucie was missing. So she went missing on July 1st. Mm-hmm. That Monday, when Jane Blackman received the call, she phoned Sophie, Lucie's sister at work. Sophie made arrangements to fly to Tokyo. Tim Blackman, planning for the worst, went to his bank account and secured a line of credit for $29,000.
Big move.
Ultimately, he would spend nearly $145,000, most of it contributed by relatives searching for Lucie. Sophie left for Tokyo the next day and arrived on July 5th. Tim Blackman came a few days later after turning over day-to-day operations to his business partners. Sophie remembers not sleeping for her first 8 days in Tokyo. She was sweating from the intense heat, and she was becoming disoriented from the labyrinth of train stations that they had to go through. And that's got to be hard in a different country, different language. Like you're missing you have a missing person. Like, I can't imagine.
I don't ever want to.
No, I don't. That's horrible. In their first 2 weeks, she and her father printed and distributed 30,000 posters with Lucie's picture on them.
Dude, that is so many
themselves.
Posters. That is so many posters.
Yeah, especially when it's just them two.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a whole police station doing this. The police didn't even want to investigate because of the line of work that she was in, and then they found out about all of her debt, so they thought, oh, she probably just ran away with one of her...
I don't understand why it's shameful, the line of work, if it's legal.
It's legal
for everyone else, right? Like, I know it's not legal for her because she didn't have a visa, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, like, if it's legal for Japanese citizens, like, why is this a shameful line of work?
I don't know.
I guess it's like stripping, right? Like, a lot of people.
They're not even doing that, though.
No, I know. I'm saying, but like a lot of people
Yeah.
here, like
Yeah,
I'm trying to relate it to
yeah,
something
yeah.
here. Like a lot of people look down on strippers or whatever.
Yeah.
But like,
whatever.
Who cares?
Yeah. I've been to several strip clubs.
Get your money, girl.
Yeah. They distributed 30,000 posters with Lucie's picture on them. They talked to anyone who might have known her. They met with the police. They held a press conference. Sophie says, we wanted to make it impossible for anyone to say we're not investigating this. So, like, the police did not have any intention of searching for Lucie. She was a foreigner who worked in an illegal trade to them, and she probably just took off with a client. Like, they did not want to do anything. And the Blackmans were like, no, that's not going to work for us.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Police not wanting to investigate something?
Now.
Color me surprised.
Right?
I was going to say I'm surprised they didn't say she's a runaway, but they sort of did.
Well, they did, pretty much. Yeah, she ran away with her.
That's the go-to.
Yeah, exactly. The reason why this case, I think, got solved was because of the Blackmans' work. Like, all the work that they forced the cops to do.
Good.
The press conferences that they held. Like, I guess it's not a thing in Japan to, like, hold press conferences about missing people. Like, it's not...
So hoping that wouldn't happen. I'm so sorry. I was trying to make that not happen.
So, like, it's a new thing, too, for them. So not only do they not want to investigate, it's not, like, a given that this is going to be broadcasted over the news. Like, that's not their thing.
Yeah. Culturally?
Culturally, yeah. It's just different. They said they didn't want to investigate it. So Tim Blackman then wanted to know why the owner of the club that Lucie worked at didn't have any information to tell them.
Person.
Yes, about the person, because they know all of the clients. They have their number. Like, it's a thing.
So for the date, was she picked up from the club?
She was picked up from the club
by him,
and then taken to his condo.
Correct.
And then supposed to be dropped back off at the club. That's how a dohan is supposed to work.
So she missed the drop back off, but she was picked up from the club. So the club knows who
exactly
it was.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Given they used the correct name.
Yes.
Their legal name.
Right. Okay. Right. And she was, reminded that, hey, you need to bring in this person, or, like, have this person be a repeat customer. So they had all this information. Like, they know everything. So Tim was wondering why the owner of the club where Lucie worked was unable to provide police with any solid information about the customer. He said, quote, my daughter was introduced to this man at the club she worked, and a few days before she disappeared. How could the club owner not know anything about him?
I agree.
Yeah.
And what's the answer?
And
just
nothing. Yeah.
Cool.
So the family couldn't help but wonder if the police had other motives for dragging their feet, like, because her sister said, quote, my sister was working in Japan illegally, so we were afraid that some people might take the attitude that whatever happened serves her right.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because that's a human being. Like, what?
Yeah. Like, no one deserves to have horrible things happen to them.
Yeah.
Ever,
why?
Regardless of what
does it matter who they are? Yeah. So what is most troubling, says one of the detectives, is the foreign women, most Asian, who have disappeared or died under mysterious circumstances over the years. They are undocumented, so we don't have good numbers. She says the media barely covered this problem until Lucie's case. All of a sudden it was news when a white girl disappeared, unquote. Which is true. She was white and blonde and pretty, but her father made most of this happen. Well, it wasn't just because she was white and missing.
I think that you can't say that without 100% certainty unless we know that other families of, like, other Asian women or non-white women were dropping everything and doing the same actions the Blackmans were doing.
That's
right?
true. Right.
That takes, like, an economic advantage.
Yeah. Oh, sure. For sure.
Probably a lot 100%. Of other people from poorer countries don't have those kinds of advantages to take out a $29,000 line of credit in order to leave their life.
Yeah.
No,
most people can't do that. That's
he
insane.
owns his own business, right? So, like, he doesn't have a boss to report to. He's not taking a leave of absence. He's probably still getting some form of income while he's away.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of advantages that
of course
he had.
Yes. But he used it to his
advantage.
To his advantage. But I mean, he's trying to find his daughter.
For sure.
He didn't do anything wrong. But I think that really helped. It wasn't just because she was white. It was because he pushed hard. Yeah. So,
which is sad because that shouldn't be what has to happen.
No, it should just
be
done. For
someone to care or to do something. But to say that that's the only reason, I feel like is disingenuous. That's not true.
Yeah, I'm sure. Probably. So it also helped that the Blackmans worked every possible angle in pushing their investigation. A friend of Tim's, who had once worked as an airport limo driver in London, had given several rides to Sir Richard Branson, founder of Virgin Enterprises. The driver phoned Sir Richard's office, and a few days later, Virgin offered to help the Blackmans open a Tokyo office for their investigation. At the office, they set up a phone line and people to answer the phone calls. So they donated free space to have a phone line, and they paid for the phone line and all this stuff so that tips could come in. That's awesome. So that's a huge thing right there. That worked in their advantage that not a lot of people get. Hello. Tim and Jane Blackman called and emailed the British Foreign Ministry until they worked their way up to Prime Minister Tony Blair's office. By coincidence, Blair was scheduled to be in Japan on July 21st for the group of 8 economic summits in Okinawa. Blair raised the issue of Lucie's disappearance with his Japanese counterpart. The high-level contacts brought immediate results.
Nice.
Yes. So there's another thing. He just got through.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. That seems hard to do.
For sure.
Meanwhile, leads began...
It's just the no-quit attitude.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Just really admirable.
Yeah.
From the Blackman family.
100% from the beginning. Meanwhile, leads began to pour into a hotline the Blackmans had set up in Tokyo. 3 foreign women came forward with remarkable similar stories. Each had been working as a hostess in a club within the past few years and had gone on a dohan to a seaside restaurant with a wealthy, well-dressed Japanese businessman. Each of the women reported blacking out and waking up hours or even days later in this man's apartment. He used a different name with each girl, calling himself Kazu, Yuji, or Koji.
Wow.
So now we're going to talk about this guy a little bit. His name that he changed, I didn't write down his original name, but he changed his name to Joji Obara. He was born on August 10th, 1952 to Korean parents in Osaka, Japan. During his youth, Obara's father worked his way up from scrap collector to immensely wealthy owner of a string of properties and parlors. Obara was educated at a private Tokyo school and received daily tutoring in a variety of subjects. At age 15, he enrolled in a prestigious prep school affiliated with Keio University, virtually guaranteeing his acceptance into the university. 2 years later, after his father's death in Hong Kong, Obara inherited property in Osaka and Tokyo. After traveling extensively and graduating from Keio University with degrees in politics and law, he became a naturalized citizen, Japanese citizen, and legally changed his name to Obara.
Wow.
Obara invested heavily in real estate, gaining assets estimated as much as $38 million. And after the recession hit Japan in the 1990s, he pretty much lost all of it, and he was being pursued by creditors and reportedly used his business as a money laundering front to stay afloat. So I guess he had a bunch...
that he just turned into a money launderer.
Yeah, I don't know how that, how do you do that? And, how do you have all those degrees and all that schooling and fucking just blow through $38 million? I don't know. That's a lot of money.
Imagine. I mean, you have to imagine the property that he's holding still has value, right?
Yeah. He had several.
They'll bounce back at some point if the economy gets better. But $38 million
is just gone.
A lot to lose. A lot.
Yeah. And I guess when the police searched his condo, when they were searching, there was old cars sitting there with flat tires out front because like he couldn't afford it anymore. Like they were just sitting out there. Not, I guess they don't have repo. I don't know. But like it was like trashed. It didn't look good anymore. And that's just the way he was living. Like he went from like $38 million to nothing.
How is he affording these dates and stuff?
I mean, I'm sure, well, he was doing something with his business, laundering somehow, I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but.
Wow.
But yeah, like he couldn't drive most of his cars because they were all like had flat tires or they had no gas and he couldn't afford to do anything. So like he's not doing well.
Serves him right.
Yeah, it does serve him right. So now we're going to talk about a different girl who comes back into this case but isn't related to Lucie at all.
Okay.
Her name is Carita Ridgway. She was born on March 3rd, 1970 in Perth, Australia, to father Nigel Ridgway and mother Annette Foster.
You know, I can't hear the name Nigel without thinking of Thornberry.
Yeah. After pursuing an education in Sydney, Carita eventually settled in the beachside suburb of Clovelly. By the age of 21, Carita had already tried her hand at modeling, but eventually decided to pursue acting instead. However, there was a problem. Acting classes were extremely expensive, and Australia's economy was going through a major recession as well.
I feel like a global recession.
I don't know. Like
in the
90s, I guess.
I was a kid. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like 10, so I probably didn't know anything that was going on. But
I mean, there must have been.
I
right?
guess so.
Australia went through one.
Yeah.
Japan went through one.
Yeah.
I think the U.S. did too. Like
I'm sure. Yeah.
90s.
Probably.
Post Reagan, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was a baby.
Yeah.
Hard to know.
When Carita's older sister Samantha decided to move to Tokyo to be with her boyfriend,
I just want to point out what different names to give your children.
Right.
Like, what's the vibe? Samantha and Carita. Okay.
Well, maybe dad picked one name and mom picked the other name.
just such different vibes.
Well, when her sister moved to Tokyo, she saw an opportunity to make some much needed cash. She would join Samantha in teaching English as a foreign language for a few months and save up enough money to pay for acting classes and to support her fiance, Robert, who was studying law at the University of South Wales.
Okay.
I don't know why she would be paying for him if she moved to Japan.
Well, like she's getting money to help support him through law school, probably. Would make sense, like to save up.
Right. Carita arrived in...
I'm sure Japan has like a lower cost of living than Australia. Australia's cost of living is like super high.
Yeah. During that time, and it was, that's why she moved. They couldn't afford it. So Carita arrived in Tokyo in late December 1991 and joined Samantha in a share house.
So this is a full decade almost. Before 9 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is happening before.
Yeah. I just am trying.
Yeah, yes, for sure. Carita arrived in Tokyo in late December 1991 and joined Samantha in a house share, especially for foreigners. So it was like comfortable for them. Mm-hmm. And it was in the middle of the city's fashionable district. So they were in, up in the, I don't know.
A good up-and-coming
neighborhood. Yes. The rooms were lent on a temporary month-to-month basis, but that suited Carita as she'd only planned on staying in the country a short while.
Okay.
However, Carita ran into problems early in her stay when she was unable to find any work as an English teacher. Aware she needed to start making money soon, Carita changed focus and replied to an advertisement in an English language newspaper, the Japan Times, seeking Western women to work in Club Aiki, a hostess bar in an upmarket Ginza. In 1992, Carita was offered a lift home from work by Obara. He used chloroform to knock her out and rape her, but administered too much of chloroform. He dropped her off at a Tokyo hospital, telling the staff that she was having a bad reaction to shellfish after their date. Carita suffered liver failure and was eventually declared brain dead. Her death was initially listed as hepatitis E, but years later, police made the connection between her death and Obara. The hospital kept Carita's liver. Just keep that in mind.
Got it.
So police found a videotape at Obara's home of him raping Carita, as well as a diary entry that read, Carita Ridgway, too much chloroform. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. They also found proof that Obara had been the one to drop her off at the hospital. Supposedly, when you drop someone off, they give you a receipt of, I don't know. It's just, and he had the receipt of her being dropped off. I don't know.
It makes me feel like they're like checking out a library book, and like when you come to get them, you like give them the receipt or a dry cleaning ticket or something. Like I'm very curious about that system, and is that still in use now, or was that like antiquated?
I don't know.
Maybe it's like has to. Do they have private health insurance or no?
No clue.
I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, but so she passed away, unfortunately.
She did.
He was responsible, he does not get found for this, I'm assuming, for many years?
Not yet, yeah.
Okay.
So newspapers started publicizing Blackman's disappearance.
That diary entry.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. Too much chloroform.
That's like, okay, you're done. Out. Goodbye.
Also, keeping the memento for however long he kept it, a decade, whatever.
Yeah, he kept things. He was a hoarder, too, so he kept everything. Okay,
so he recorded it,
yep,
kept that stuff, so there's like a clear link.
Oh, yeah, like he did it for sure. Okay. I mean, he was on video raping her. Like, he videotaped himself doing that, so that's a for sure shut and dry case. So we're going to stop with her, and we're going to go back to Blackman's case.
Okay.
So newspapers started publicizing Blackman's disappearance on July 13th when British Prime Minister Tony Blair made mention of the murder during an official visit to Japan, where he met with the minister, Mr. K. Prosecutors say that on July 20th, the Azbul police station received a letter saying to be written by Blackman, saying she had vanished on her own accord. Similar letters would arrive in the following months.
Yes.
So again, like first there was a phone call. Now there's letters saying, hey, I'm still here, but I'm not coming home, kind of thing.
As one does.
I'm still alive, but I'm not going to call you like I usually do 3 times a day. I'm just going to write a letter.
As one does.
Yes. So Blackman's case received enormous coverage in British and Japanese media, in part due to the direct actions of the Blackman family. The setting up of an office in Tokyo with the staffing of an information hotline staffed by British expats, and the offer of a reward boosted to £100,000 by an anonymous businessman. So that is another plus for them. Yeah. That's a huge reward to offer, especially back in the 90s. I mean, it's huge now, but holy shit, that's a lot.
2000.
Yeah.
That's a lot, yeah.
Similar letters would keep arriving during the months. They just kept coming in.
As one does. I'm missing on my own accord.
Yep.
Nothing suspicious here.
Nothing going on here. So they finally caught their suspect on October 12th, when a 48-year-old Japanese businessman named Joji Obara was detained in connection with Lucie's disappearance. On August 6th, Obara, who had steadfastly maintained his innocence, was charged with her death, a rape that apparently turned into a murder. Police officials speaking off the record to Japanese press suggest he may have raped as many as 200 women over a 2.5-decade span, a crime spree to which Time magazine had learned the Tokyo Metropolitan Police had been alerted to before even Lucie's death.
So they linked her
to that guy because I think they had pictures of him and her on a date on that day.
Okay.
That surface.
So, do they find her?
They don't find her body for 7 months.
Before they arrest him or after they arrest him?
They arrest him first and then they find her body. Because she was, yeah. Okay. This guy, they were like, holy shit, we have some evidence to go into his apartment and kind of search it and see what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
While Obara awaits trial for killing Lucie, and the case mounts against him as one of the most prolific serial rapists ever caught, he has become a symbol to some Japanese of the post-bubble economy and its moral aftermath, saying this is what happens when people lose their money and, the economy dies and all this stuff, which I don't think has anything to do with him raping women. So when police searched his home, they also found a German Shepherd frozen in a solid block in a large freezer next to a bouquet of roses and some dog food. Yes, a frozen German Shepherd. That was his dog. Wow. He would later say he had preserved it with the hope that one day science would enable him to reanimate my loving pet into a clone dog.
That is wild.
So, he loves dogs.
That is wild.
Strange as it was, the dog fits a pattern of Obara of hoarding personal items. There were stacks of old car batteries, trashed TV sets, receipts, journals, and personal tape recordings dated back to the 1970s. The biggest haul comprised more than 200 videotapes showing dozens of apparently unconscious women being assaulted by Obara, who in many of the tapes, according to a police source, was wearing nothing but a Zorro mask. How horrifying.
Horrific. The only... I don't want to say the only, but at least they were completely knocked out for it. Not that it should happen, but
and a lot of them didn't know what happened. They had no idea. They would just wake up in his apartment and he would take them back home, or they would walk home, and nothing would happen.
God, they must feel so
Some of them knew something happened, but they couldn't
report anything.
They didn't report anything. Some of them did report it and nothing fucking happened.
Yeah.
Prior to his arrest in connection with Lucie's disappearance, Obara had one notable brush with the law. In 1998, he was arrested in a woman's restroom in a beach town. Obara was dressed in drag, and he was attempting to videotape a woman using the toilet. He was charged with a misdemeanor and fined $75. After Obara's arrest in connection with Lucie's disappearance, a sharper image of his personal life emerged. In contrast to his public persona, Obara's private obsessions are excruciating detail. He wrote in excruciating detail in his journals and dictated auto diaries on his cassette tapes starting in the early 1970s of him raping women. Police have leaked some of Obara's most incriminating entries to Japanese reporters. According to one of the police officers, one of Obara's most troubling entries presented in vaguely poetic form includes the lines, quote, "Women are only good for sex. I will lie to them. I will seek revenge on the world," unquote. So he's a pretty fucked up dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he have a certain victim type, or was it mainly foreigners that he went after, or do we not know? Right?
I don't know.
There's so many women.
I think it was ones that worked in the club. Because that was easy to get.
Yeah.
Well, and they're not going to report anything.
Correct.
Yeah. So in 1983, his journals make their first references to conquer play, which is what he used, the word that he used to describe his assaults on the women. Journals between 1983 and 1995 include the names of more than 200 women, besides which Obara wrote code words, 29 of which investigators believed refer to drugs. So
different drugs he used
on them and what happened and that kind of thing.
No. Chloroform, too much.
Chloroform, yeah. Police recovered more than a dozen different varieties of drugs from Obara's home, including sleeping pills to chloroform to human growth hormones.
Okay.
Now, he used the human growth hormones himself. Okay. He did not like what he looked like. He did not like his eyes. He had multiple surgeries done to make his eyes bigger. Mm-hmm. And he didn't like that he was so short, so he would use the growth hormone thinking that it would make him taller, but I don't think it did. In his diaries, he mentions drugs frequently, at one point declaring, "I'm so bored with pot, hash, and LSD."
Okay.
And he said, "I cannot do these women who are conscious." is another quote. When police arrested Obara in early October, he initially denied knowing who Lucie Blackman was. Police found blonde hairs that matched Lucie's in one of Obara's Seacoast condominiums, then a roll of film that contained pictures of her taken near the Swain dwelling, but without a body, they were unable to bring charges against him. Finally decided to cooperate with the prosecution, and Obara was charged with several counts of rape.
Okay.
So while he was sitting in jail for Lucie's, they're trying to build her case. These other women came forward and they started building a case against him with those as well.
And the Carita, right?
And Carita,
like they're kind of building.
They're building it all together. They just don't
evidence.
have Lucie's body yet. Okay. So it's in a rambling November letter to the media, Obara countered, "These ladies who are supposed to be victims are all foreign hostesses or sex club girls. Many took cocaine or other drugs in front of me, and all of them agreed to have sex for money." The woman told a different story. He met them in a hostess club, invited them on dohans, drove them to the sea, and lured him into his condominium using a variety of methods. He invited one woman over, offering to cook dinner for her. He asked another to accompany him later in the evening to a Mariah Carey concert.
Okay.
And another one, he drove to his building and asked her to help him carry up boxes from his car.
Absolutely not.
It's like, what?
This is a date?
You're taking me on a date so I can bring boxes up to your apartment? It's not going to happen.
Absolutely not.
Once he got them inside, he would keep the conversation light. Inevitably, he would urge them to try a rare wine, which he would tell them came from India or the Philippines. To account for the funny taste of this drug-laced beverage, Obara told his victims it contained special herbs. There was one victim he coaxed into making a, quote, good luck toast that required her to down the entire glass in a single gulp. If she didn't drink it all, he warned, she wouldn't have good luck.
What a sick fuck.
Yeah, he's a sick fuck. Videotapes then tell the rest of the story. According to court documents filed by the prosecution, the tapes show Obara lugging unconscious women onto his bed. Police have leaked details of him having tied down some of the women, penetrating them with foreign objects, and sodomizing many of them. He would assault most victims for 12 hours or more. To ensure they remained unconscious, he would place a cloth soaked in a drug known to be chloroform over their mouths. He captured his assaults on tape using professional video equipment and lights. One of his victims sustained burns when he left a hot light too close to her body. Jesus. Obara's women would awaken 24 or even 48 hours later, sick and disoriented from the drugs. Chloroform is toxic to the liver and can be fatal. Each of the women recounted waking up vomiting, being unable to stand, crawling on hands and knees to the bathroom. Few had any idea what happened. Obara would sometimes dress them back in their own clothes before they regained consciousness. Then he would always have a story. He told one woman, quote, "You are such a fun girl. You drank an entire bottle of vodka." He told another, which would be like, I'd be like, oh, I did? That would be my thing. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess I did. He told another there had been a gas leak, and the woman with the burned skin, who had been unconscious for more than 36 hours, was told she had become drunk and fallen over and had bruises and burns from that. In addition to the witness against Obara, police discovered hospital receipts linking him to former hostess, an Australian named Carita Ridgway. In 1992, he took a gravely ill Ridgway to a hospital, telling nurses she had eaten bad shellfish. Ridgway was diagnosed as suffering from liver failure as a result of eating seafood tainted with the virus that causes hepatitis. After she died a few days later, Obara even comforted her parents when they came to take her body home. Due to an administrative fluke, Ridgway's liver had been preserved at the Tokyo's Women's Hospital, where an autopsy had originally been performed on her body. After Obara came under investigation for Lucie's disappearance and his other assaults, medical examiners tested Ridgway's liver for chloroform, which proved to be present in toxic levels. Then Obara was charged in connection with her death.
Good.
Yes.
Justice.
So they kept that liver. That was awesome.
Yeah.
On the 24th of April in 2007, Obara was jailed for life on multiple charges and one manslaughter, but he was acquitted of the crime of Blackman's rape and murder. Evidence supporting his guilt in regard to the charge of rape included the approximately 400 videos he took in which he engaged in date rape activities. For the charge of manslaughter of Carita Ridgway, the prosecutor produced an autopsy report showing traces of chloroform in Ridgway's liver and paper trails showing that the accused accompanied Ridgway to the hospital before she died. So he was trying to say, like, he was being a good guy and dropped her off at the hospital. And then they gave him a receipt. And then he kept the fucking receipt.
Dude, who hangs on to something like that? I don't know. Like, unless you're doing it as, like, a trophy, like, you're not hanging on to that.
No. So in Blackman's case, however, the prosecutor could not find any forensic evidence linking the accused to her death. Okay. So now we're going back. On February 9th, 2001, Blackman's body was found buried in a shallow grave under a bathtub in a seaside cave near Obara's apartment, about 31 miles south of Tokyo. The body had been cut into 10 pieces and put inside separate bags. Her head had been shaved and encased in concrete. The body was too decomposed to show the cause of death. According to Obara's indictment, he made Blackman drink a drink containing a drug before raping her at the condo, and then he killed her. Obara has maintained his innocence, claiming the drugs were voluntary, self-administered.
So, did she die? Like, in his scenario...
I think, yes.
He's saying, like, oh, she took the drugs herself and then she died. Yeah. And then I just cut her up.
And then I decided to put her
head in concrete. Or she did it herself.
Either one.
What?
I'm not connected to her, though.
Yeah, like...
Yeah.
Okay.
There were no videotapes of Lucie and Obara together in those 400 tapes that they had to sit through. They did find Carita in there. The Japanese judicial system has received some criticism for its handling of the case. It is believed that the police did not take this missing person case seriously because, quote, Lucie was illegally working in a job from which women often flee without notice. As a result, the discovery of the body came too late to determine the cause of death. The verdict by a panel of 3 judges cited the lack of forensic evidence as a reason for acquittal. Some foreign media from common law countries also criticized the police for having leaked information in the case to the press that could cause a mistrial. However, as Japanese civil law system did not at the time use juries, this could not be grounds for a mistrial. So they had 3 judges that would make decisions, not juries.
Okay.
Thank you. One of the former prosecutors, now a professor of criminal procedure law, criticized the decision to acquit Obara for the murder of Lucie Blackman. The public prosecutor, however, appealed the Blackman-related verdicts as crucial forensic evidence that had not been heard at the original trial, and on March 25, 2008, an appeal trial commenced in the Tokyo High Court. The court found Obara guilty on the counts of abduction, dismemberment, and disposal of Blackman's body on December 16, 2008. In early December 2010, the Supreme Court of Japan rejected Obara's appeal and upheld his life sentence. So now he's done. But a thing that I wanted to come back to is in September of 2006, Lucie's father accepted 454,000 pounds of condolence money from an associate of Obara. Blackman said the money would be split between the Lucie Blackman Trust to support the family in the future. Now, Lucie's mother, Jane, who refused a similar payment, called this blood money and called her ex-husband's actions unbelievably a betrayal.
Wow.
She also claimed her former husband struck a deal with the trial's defense in order to receive the payment and signed a document questioning key evidence. Under Japanese law, a gift made by those who confess their guilt to the victim's relatives may be taken into consideration by judges when sentencing. The acceptance of this money could be seen as an acceptance of apology and to some extent forgiveness, so that the element of retribution within the sentencing can be lessened.
Wow.
Crazy. However, this does not apply in this case as the accused refused to accept his guilt. In addition to documents allegedly signed by Mr. Blackman for Obara's lawyers, he also sent a letter to the Japanese police denouncing Obara. Quote, "I believe the defendant to be guilty of all charges," he wrote. "I do not forgive the defendant in any way whatsoever. The condolence from his friend is accepted just as we have received condolences from around the world."
It's hard because, like, culturally that feels wrong.
Right. Yeah.
But, like, when he puts it into the framework of, like, we've accepted, you know, what was it, like $100,000?
Yeah,
like,
someone donated $100,000 to
what?
Yeah.
How is this any different?
Why does it
like
matter? Yeah,
you
I
can
get why it's blood
understand
money,
that?
but he didn't he didn't go home and like spend all this money. Like he put it into the trust.
Yeah.
And worked with it. Used it to stay in Japan, used it to fly his daughter back and forth so they could go home and then come back. You know, used it to create
a foundation to honor the daughter, like, to honor her.
I don't know if, I mean, I get the ex-wife, like, she's upset that her husband took the money, but, like, he didn't do anything bad with it. He did everything he was supposed to do with it. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a tough one for me.
It's hard. It's like ethically, I don't know, like ethically, I don't know that I would accept that just because culturally, I know what that, I would know what that means.
But like he said, he took so much money from relatives too, that he paid a lot of those people back with that money. So, I mean, I know but
I mean, you can't go back in time and not take the money, right? Like, it is what it is. And I guess, like, it didn't have an impact on the sentencing.
No, because he wrote that letter.
So, like, really, it's just, and it wasn't paid directly by Obara.
No, it was paid by one of his businessmen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he try to pay other people?
Well, he tried to pay his mom, the mom, too.
But like any of the other victims?
So he didn't pay. He offered Carita's family, I think, some money because he was trying to be nice because he was on a date with her and dropped her off at the hospital. So, like, he went to console them, and I think he offered them some money to, like, help fly back the body. So they actually spoke with him. And then when he came back, when Lucie's disappearance, they pinpointed him as being the guy.
Person.
Yes. So that connected him as
like
well.
Another way.
Yeah. And then plus the fact that he was a fucking rapist of over 200 women, they had no idea. So, like, the Blackmans coming in and blowing this case up was enormous.
It's crazy.
He could have still been doing it.
I was going to say, like, he could still be doing it. Yeah. I mean, he's to be like 70 now.
Yeah, he's like, but who knows? And I don't know, like, he's only been charged with 2 murders. Like, I'm sure there's other murders out there that he's committed.
It just seems...
If he's raped 200 women...
It seems like murder wasn't his MO.
No, murder is not his MO. Yeah, it's the rape.
You would think, like, being so many in...
Yeah.
He would know, like, right? Like, he's tested it, and he knows how much to use.
Well, so, like, Carita, he used too much.
I'm saying, but, like, she was in the beginning-ish, right? Yeah. Well, not really. She was, like, halfway through. Yeah. So, like, it's sad because what happened to Lucie? Like, you truly don't know. No. Right? No. Because they can't determine
They can't even determine it. Yeah. Like, she was so decomposed.
Did she have, like, an allergic reaction to one of the drugs or something? Like...
I'm sure she overdosed, and then he just...
Or, like, did she fight really hard, and he used a different way to kill her? Like, who knows?
Yeah. And then cut her fucking up into 10 pieces.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah. Man. Which is weird, because usually people do that, like, after they've been killing for a while. They don't just, like, start to...
Didn't that one guy?
Yes, but the guy in Korea, yeah. But he did it to, like... all of his victims. Yeah. Like, this is just a random rapist, and then all of a sudden, like, he dropped the one off at the hospital. Like, what? And then this one, he just, like, it just went from 0 to, like, and then he cut up the body, put the head in the...
I have a hard time believing that she's the only murderer.
I'm pretty sure he's done that before. Because that's just a weird to start off with. I'm going to, you know, 10 and then freeze her head and shave it and do all that. Like, that's just weird. So anyway, he's in jail. He's still there. He won't ever get out.
Do the Blackmans feel like they got justice? Even though they don't know, like, how she died and he doesn't admit to it, but, like, he's in jail for it?
I think they do a little bit. Like, the Netflix documentary had the dad on it. It didn't have the mom. So I don't know what her opinion is, which I'm thinking she probably didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
But he's glad he did it, but I don't know. Like, it didn't seem like he was happy. Or satisfied.
That's a tough spot to be in, right? Because, like, the person who did it is behind bars.
Yeah.
You know, but, like...
But it doesn't bring your daughter back. Yeah, and you don't know what happened to her. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
It's not knowing. At least they found her body. Yeah. So that gave them some closure, but the rest of it's sad.
Wow. That's a crazy one.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm glad they found him, and I'm glad the Blackmans worked so hard.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram at
The Murder Mamas,
Facebook,
The M Mamas,
Twitter,
The Murder Mamas,
email,
themurdermamas@gmail.com.
And if you like us and are happy with our content, please leave us a review and a 5-star rating. We would appreciate it. Bye.